um, I wanted to make a video to talk about the relationship between left-wing paganism and right-wing paganism. But I will start by saying that God is a dialectical being, and dialectics in the realm of philosophy is that which we call schizophrenia in the realm of psychology. So God is schizophrenic because he splits his own mind within himself. And yeah, so I was watching a video by Scarlet, Ravenswood, and I'm trying to understand figures of consciousness as being mirrors of God, what I call my higher self. And Scarlet Ravenswood is the 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 pagan heroine that European deserves, but not the one they need right now. And she is to someone like the Thulan perspective, Varg Vikernes, what Jared Taylor is to Andrew Anglin. They are the respectable image that Europeans unconsciously wish to see as a reflection of themselves. They want to see a paganism which is positive and joyful and pleasant. They want to see a white advocate who is respectable and dignified and educated and who speaks well. And Jared Taylor and Scarlet Ravenswood are the heroes that the European mind projects to give to himself a good image of himself. And the reverse is Andrew Anglin, which is the embodiment of negativity and hatred and despicable individual in the mind of those who follow him, who are aware of his existence. And Varg Vikernes and the Thulan perspective is profound pagan spirituality, but with always a negative tone. It's always critical, always condemning modern society, the decadence, the degeneracy. So it's profound and wise and spiritual, but it's kind of bitter. And I understood also that the left-wing pagans are in a schizophrenic state of mind because they are made in the image of God, and God is a schizophrenic being. They want to get closer to their European roots, but the subject of European identity is so taboo that they are afraid of even mentioning their European identity. They do it, but they do it with caution. And the idea that paganism might be a white religion, not a white religion, but a religion for whites. European paganism is strictly for whites. This idea, if we expose this idea to them, they would say, no, anyone can become a pagan because spirituality is beyond ethnicity. So they are in a conflictual state within themselves. They wish to be united with their European roots, but the modern political system despises everything European and everything white, so they have the courage of distantiating themselves from atheism or dominant Christianity in the US, but this kind of void, empty religion, this vague spirituality of abstract universality. So they have the courage to assert their pagan roots, but they do not go far enough to the point of asserting their ethnic identity. And they are the the spiritual branch of the left, even though they are not necessarily all leftist, but they are more on a left-sided view because they have a universalist, sharing, loving view of things. And the Marxists are the leftists with a political view, a will to struggle and to fight and to dominate, and yeah, and the left-wing spiritual, whether they are pagans or Wiccans or New Agers or whatever, they want to have spirituality while distanciating themselves from conflict. And on the right wing, you have the white nationalists and the libertarians who are in a mood of conflict. They want confrontation. They want conflict. They want dissent. And you have the right wing pagans who, although they are kind of bitter because the modern West produces the destruction of Europe, but they are detached from the world of politics, and they are not in a mood of confrontation and conflict. They are detached, and that's what makes them spiritual. They just want to have their own private permaculture farm, or they want to escape from the world by building their own community, and they don't believe in any political solution, and they don't want to be involved in politics and in conflict. They just want to retract and detach themselves. So they are the mirror image of the left-wing pagans or the left-wing spirituals who also want to detach themselves from the conflict, but they are more spiritual and more bitter, because spirituality is bittersweet. It's a mixture of opposites, because they have gone through the process of confrontation, but they have transcended it. And in the field of politics, it remains the conflict between Marxists or leftists and identitarians or white nationalists. And this tension, this schizophrenia within the political sphere exists within the mind of God, because within God there's a will to struggle and to fight and to confront. But since all there is God, God necessarily wages war against himself, and he hates it. So there's this schizophrenia of a will to fight, but at the same time a will to appease, because struggling against oneself is painful and difficult. So the modern political West is made in the image of God. And um, I myself, as an empirical individual, uh, I am conflictual, because when I listen to Scarlet Ravenswood, I admire her, and I love her joy and her fulfillment in being a pagan. And she's brave also, because it takes courage to be a pagan, especially in the Christian Northern America. In Europe, Christianity is more decadent, but in America it's more difficult, because there are still strong feelings towards Christianity. So it takes courage to assert your pagan identity, and uh, she's brave and nice and joyful, but she doesn't go far enough. And there's a part of me which would like to say, if you want to be a real pagan, you have to incorporate within yourself the negative moment, which is white nationalism, and to be confronted by the decadence of modern of the modern West and the modern political spectrum. And a real pagan is a pagan who incorporates within himself the determinations of the negative moment of the development of consciousness, which is opposition um, to the establishment, to the system, to the JQ, to the replacement of Europeans. They contain these moments within themselves, but as aufgehoben, they are not obsessed by it anymore. They are on a path towards a positive will to create pagan communities, a self-sustaining lifestyle. So the difference between left-wing pagan and right-wing pagan is to be found in Hegel's logic between an sich and wirklich. And wirklich is that which contains within itself the moment of the negation, and which is the manifestation of the idea. I won't go into full explanation, but the more I understand profound speculative meaning about God or about the higher self, the more I understand the political spectrum and all the aspects of life, so they are connected. And I would like to put in the description below a scene from the movie Batman Begins. The confrontation between Ra's al Ghul and Batman. It may seem insignificant, but the purpose of this channel is to show you that modern pop culture, and Hollywood movies are a manifestation of modern pop culture, are a manifestation of absolute spirit. They express the highest truths about the nature of God and the conflicts within God. And if you replace the League of Shadows by right-wing paganism, that right-wing pagans have destroyed civilization whenever they were on the verge of decadence and degeneracy, you understand the conflict within God between the side of compassion and the side of ruthlessness, and this psychological struggle which exists within each human being. Some have a side more developed than another, but the whole range of psychological characteristics is made manifest in the world. And men are made in the image of God, and God is this conflictual, self-struggling entity, and it's exhausting to think about God, because there are so much contradictions, and God is the one principle which must incorporate within himself the solution to all contradictions, and this is the most difficult task. And I'm exhausted, and yeah, I will stop there for now, but yeah.